Alright guys, got something I want to show you here this morning. So I got the backpack sprayer out. Was doing some scouting in the fields and saw something that I figured I was going to see but didn't want to see, and it's some foxtail that's starting to pop up. And fortunately it is outgrowing the coastal, so it's a little easier to find. There are some shorter plants, so those are a little more camouflaged. But here's the deal. We put out pre-emergent, put out Resolon back in January, and then we burned the fields off in March. So that took care of anything that wanted to germinate from seed, and then took care of any seeds that were on the ground that could germinate later. Well, seeing these foxtails out here, kind of deductive reasoning lets me know that's probably from root, and that is going to be the perennial variety, is the bad one, the Knotroot Foxtail. So I'm going to show you what it looks like, show you what I'm doing to kind of head this off, because you don't want this stuff to take over your fields, and I would rather be bit in the tail by a snaggletooth dog than to walk around and spot spray these things. But we got what we got. I've been trying to work at these things for a couple years, and finally getting them under control somewhat. I would say reasonable control. And they've been a hassle, a big hassle. Alright, here's one of the plants here. You can see how much taller it is than the coastal. The stem, or the leaves on it, are spiky looking in appearance. It grows in clumps. Towards the base is kind of a reddish purple tint, kind of sets it apart. You can see the char there. This plant was here from whenever we burned, so it had just gone dormant and was waiting to green up with everything else. So that pretty much tells us all we need to know. This is the knotroot. So we'll pull this up. That wasn't a real great pull up, but you can see the roots here. It's got these meaty roots. It has a rhizome style root, and that is what makes it so hard to kill. But that's it. Really a pain, but that's what we got. These things started a couple years ago, and we didn't know that foxtail was a 4-letter word, and it was in a field of mixed grass. So all we were doing was keeping the bushes and the briars out of it. So those roots there are a little more hairy and thin, but then as you investigate a little more, you will find those rhizome style roots like that. So that's what we're battling. They kind of grow in groups, so if you find one, look pretty diligently for others. There will be an occasional rogue one out by itself, but those are going to be pretty hard to find. But fortunately it's only 35 acres. Unfortunately it's 35 acres. There's going to be a lot of scouting around, but in a few days, you take your time, do it in a course of a few days, you can get a good bit done. If you have dozens or hundreds of acres, you may have to wait until it's enough to broadcast spray. In the sprayer, got glyphosate. I've got 2 gallons in there, so I put 6.5 ounces of glyphosate and 0.15 ounces of Pastora. So that's what I'm going to be spraying. And broadcast spray, if you're to the point where you're like, oh my, this whole field's covered and I'm just going to broadcast spray, make sure to do at least 20 gallons of water to the acre, 8 ounces of glyphosate per acre mixed with 1.5 ounces of Pastora per acre. And we did a video on that last year, I think sometime in July, and it did really good. We sprayed the 12 acres of mixed grass with that, because all we would do is keep the bushes and the briars out of that field, and then these other grasses started showing up, and of course it was foxtail, but we didn't know how bad that was. We didn't know exactly what that meant. So it pretty much took over, and then it got in all the hay equipment, and we were just spreading it from field to field. And so here we are now, kind of battling it, but we've got it under control, and just got to keep putting the work in. I don't know that I'll ever get rid of it, but as long as I can keep it punched back, I'm satisfied with that. And so that's it. So I'm going to start spraying. I'm not going to pull all those plants up. I was just pulling one up to show you what the roots look like on it. And that should be that. So I'm going to get to it. Okay, so I got those 2 gallons put out and came across a couple patches of Dallas grass, and they were in some strips. So I don't know if my sprayer just missed or if it was just meant to be or whatever, but if it wasn't coastal, I sprayed it. Just 2 things to remember when dealing with these foxtails. Get your pre-emergents out, so hopefully they won't germinate to begin with. If you do have foxtails popping up, whether they're annual or perennial, try to get them cut before they seed out, or spray them before they seed out. And like I said earlier, the glyphosate and pest oil works good. There is also, for the Knotroot variety, there is a new herbicide called Facet L. I've never messed with it, so I can't speak for it, but if we continue to have problems and see that we're getting overcome again, I will certainly give it a try and of course do a video on it. So appreciate everybody stopping in. Thank you to the new subscribers I've gotten lately. It's just been a nice little burst of viewers, and I really appreciate that, and we'll see y'all on the next go.